of the Delta rocket with opportunity.
When I was 14, 2 rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, landed on Mars, and that was hugely inspirational because we were seeing some of the first images come back, and I was like, gosh, I want to be a part of that. The mission of SolePower is to make self-sustained wearables that make people's lives better. We like to think we've created a new category called wearable energy harvesting. Devices that use normal motion like walking, running, moving to charge useful electronics. Our first implementation of that is a connected work boot that helps workforces be safer and more productive. So here we have a prototype boot, and what happens is every time you step down, it's creating power. It charges a battery and an electronics board in the front. And that board has accelerometers, which measure motion, temperature sensors, GPS sensors, and a Wi-Fi module, so it can send all of that data to the cloud. The US Army, when they're interested in supporting a type of technology, says that they have a problem and they need innovative companies to help them fix it. They were trying to reduce the amount of backup battery rate that soldiers have to carry every single day. We told them what technology we could build, we asked for their assistance, and we built it and delivered it. And those same benefits can be applied to many other industries like construction, energy, remote surveying, essentially anywhere where somebody's off the grid and you need to know where they are.
Hahna is the backbone of SolePower. Everything that I do, everything that we all do at SolePower is just building off of innovative work that she started.
Science, technology, and engineering is the future. And when you do create something that's solving compelling problems for people, it does feel good. I would tell young girls, go into STEM, not just because we need you, but because it's awesome.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Alex Britt with MSNBC, and talk about awesome. This is Hahna Alexander, and this is just a 26-year-old young lady who's doing all of that. And I'm so glad you got to see this video because it explains so beautifully what she is doing. But I think you need to know a little bit of the backstory here. And that is that part of this began not because you saw a bunch of Reebok kids' tennis shoes that light up and you thought, hey, let me do something more cool than that with it.
No, but those are cool.
But those are cool,
yeah.
I agree. Yeah, the kids will love them. But you were thinking about a project for school, and you thought drones, sandwiches, library. What happened to that?
Yeah, so the original idea got started out of a class project at Carnegie Mellon. And our professor gave us the design prompt, which is really kind of a core lesson of entrepreneurship, to solve a problem for students on campus. So our first thought was, sandwiches in the library. That's a problem everybody needs to solve.
Makes sense,
so
yeah.
We're going to build a drone, and we're going to deliver food. And our professor told us that we needed to do something that was a little more compelling. So we came up, yeah, I know. I think it was a good idea, and maybe I'll do that as a hobby project one day. But we came up with lights that would go on people's shoes so they could see where they were walking at night, and cars could see them. And we kind of ran into this sort of age-old problem of what do you do when you need mobile electricity? So we ended up coming up with a charger to power it.
So you now run this company, SolePower, and there are 6 of you that do it. There were 7. You were in charge of technology because of your sheer genius, but you had a CEO who just left the company. So now you're doing everything. What are the big challenges when you're trying to start out a company like this? What have been the pitfalls and the biggest lessons you've learned?
Well, just first to say, I have a huge network of mentors and advisors that help too, and most of our team is engineers, so we're all kind of working on the technology together. But I think the biggest problem is the same problem that most entrepreneurs face, which is needing to find product market fit. So the technology that you develop can't just be cool, it can't just be interesting. It has to solve a compelling problem in a unique and better way than other solutions. And that's always a challenge, and that's what we drive towards.
Yeah. Well, the U.S. Army has taken notice, and why don't you tell the audience what you're doing on behalf of the U.S. Army and how they've gotten interested in SolePower?
Yeah, so a typical soldier will walk miles a day when they're deployed, and they have to carry about 20 pounds of backup batteries on a single-day mission. So you're walking 3 days, you have to carry 60 pounds,
wow.
Which fatigues the soldier and obviously is not something anybody wants to do. So the Army is kind of actively looking towards tech startups and looking for novel power sources to reduce some of that backup battery weight.
So the Army will take these boots and they'll recharge, and that allows the soldiers to get rid of 60 pounds of weight. And if you're
not all of the weight. So initially, what we're focused on is to be part of a network of energy harvesting solutions. So they're also focused on solar panels, knee braces. They're kind of taking in everything from human motion and from the environment to reduce as much of it as possible. We'll never reduce the entire backpack full of batteries, but hopefully we can help.
Yeah, and I saw firefighters, construction workers. How does it work for them, this technology?
Yeah, so when we had the technology prototyped and developed, we started looking at different industrial sectors that walked a really long way and needed backup power. And we came upon this idea that it seems like construction workers, people in the manufacturing space, they're in really dynamic, dangerous environments, but we don't really know anything about how they're moving around a facility or ways to make it safer and more productive. You contrast that with, say, somebody who's running in Central Park wearing a Fitbit, and they know how to make their run safe. They can call for help if they're in trouble. There's even apps that will tell you how to run with better form. And comparatively, workers in these very dangerous environments, we don't know much about it. So we're trying to sustainably give them information using GPS, Wi-Fi, IMUs, which are motion sensors, to make overall the job site safer and more productive.
And this has been in the works for what, 4 years?
We've been developing the technology since 2012, and we've kind of highlighted a couple of industries that are well served by it in the last 8 to 9 months.
So there were times when you were in these workshops, what did you call it, cubicle? Is that what you've called it? Or
incubators.
Incubators. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, you're
Incubators.
incubating with the thoughts. That's great. You're in these places sometimes 2 or 3 months at a time, and you're sleeping on the floor, and it's anything but glamorous. How do you persevere when you're exhausted, when you're going down a technology road and you're thinking, oh, great, this is not working? I mean, how do you turn that around?
Well, okay, so my mom gave me some pretty good advice when we were getting started, because I had previously been working in internships at NASA and SpaceX, which are these places where people work very hard, but it's much more glamorous. And she said, if you're going to fail, I want you to do it now while you don't have a lot of other obligations and responsibilities. And at the time, that seemed tough to hear, but the reality is that's a really good lesson for entrepreneurs. You have to not be afraid of failure, and you have to pivot quickly and kind of successfully just navigate the different challenges that come along. So I actually think it was kind of well-timed to do it right after graduating, and we definitely took advantage of a lot of floor space that wasn't being used. Yeah. But yeah, it's when you love the technology, when you love the problem that you're solving, it doesn't seem so hard. It just seems fun.
Well, I want to get a little bit into your love of space. And I'm going to say I'm a space geek too, but I do not have your pedigree. She has done 3 internships at NASA. Do you guys know how competitive it is to try to get an internship at NASA and SpaceX? I mean, it is, yeah, applaud for that for sure. But you take away from that what? I mean, you're among great minds, you're inspired. I understand you also wouldn't mind moving to Mars at one point down the road.
Yeah, I would love to retire.
Why not,
there.
right? Maybe Matt Damon you'll run into. I mean, he was the Martian.
That would be even better.
But, so what did you take away from that? How did that inspire you?
Well, firstly, these organizations are hugely inspirational, and I think a lot of people kind of grow up seeing the space industry be so successful and want to be a part of it. So I definitely took that away. But the design processes that you go through in engineering are actually quite useful in many other different industries. One of the projects was actually making an energy harvesting robot for flying a kite on Mars to use the wind. So it's actually this robot that could be used off-planet has the same design mechanisms that our boot uses right now.
Well, I got to say, it is such a pleasure to get to know you. I'm sure all of you are going to take away something exciting. SolePower, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of it. And Hahna Alexander.